Trying not to get flurried or out of temper, Levin mentioned the names of the doctor and midwife, and explaining what the opium was needed for, tried to persuade him. The assistant inquired in German whether he should give it, and receiving an affirmative reply from behind the partition, he took out a bottle and a funnel, deliberately poured the opium from a bigger bottle into a little one, stuck on a label, sealed it up, in spite of Levin's request that he would not do so, and was about to wrap it up too. This was more than Levin could stand. He took the bottle firmly out of his hands, and ran to the big glass doors. The doctor was not even now getting up, and the footman, busy now in putting down the rugs, refused to wake him. Levin deliberately took out a 10-ruble note, and, careful to speak slowly, though losing no time over the business, he handed him the note, and explained that Pyotr Dmitrovitch, what a great and important personage he seemed to Levin now, this Pyotr Dmitrovitch, who had been of so little consequence in his eyes before, had promised to come at any time, that he would certainly not be angry, and that he must therefore wake him at once. The footman agreed, and went upstairs, taking Levin into the waiting room. Levin could hear through the door the doctor coughing, moving about, washing, and saying something. "3 minutes passed. It seemed to Levin that more than an hour had gone by. He could not wait any longer. "Pyotr Dmitrovitch, Pyotr Dmitrovitch," he said in an imploring voice at the open door. "For God's sake, forgive me." "See me as you are. It's been going on more than 2 hours already." "In a minute, answered a voice, and to his amazement Levin heard that the doctor was smiling as he spoke. For one instant. In a minute. 2 minutes more passed while the doctor was putting on his boots, and 2 minutes more while the doctor put on his coat and combed his hair. "Pyotr Dmitrovitch." Levin was beginning again in a plaintive voice, just as the doctor came in dressed and ready. "These people have no conscience," thought Levin. "Combing his hair, while we're dying." "Good morning," the doctor said to him, shaking hands, and, as it were, teasing him with his composure. "There's no hurry." "Well now?" Trying to be as accurate as possible, Levin began to tell him every unnecessary detail of his wife's condition, interrupting his account repeatedly with entreaties that the doctor would come with him at once. "Oh, you needn't be in any hurry. You don't understand, you know. I'm certain I'm not wanted, still I've promised, and if you like, I'll come." "But there's no hurry. Please sit down. Won't you have some coffee?" Levin stared at him with eyes that asked whether he was laughing at him, but the doctor had no notion of making fun of him. I know, the doctor said, smiling. "I'm a married man myself, and at these moments we husbands are very much to be pitied. I've a patient whose husband always takes refuge in the stables on such occasions. But what do you think, Pyotr Dmitrovich? Do you suppose it may go all right? Everything points to a favorable issue. So you'll come immediately?" said Levin, looking wrathfully at the servant who was bringing in the coffee. "In an hour's time." "Oh, for mercy's sake." "Well, let me drink my coffee, anyway." The doctor started upon his coffee. Both were silent. "The Turks are really getting beaten, though. Did you read yesterday's telegrams?" said the doctor, munching some roll. "No, I can't stand it," said Levin, jumping up. "So you'll be with us in a quarter of an hour?" "In half an hour." "On your honor?" When Levin got home, he drove up at the same time as the princess, and they went up to the bedroom door together. The princess had tears in her eyes, and her hands were shaking. Seeing Levin, she embraced him, and burst into tears. "Well, my dear Lizaveta Petrovna?" she queried, clasping the hand of the midwife, who came out to meet them with a beaming and anxious face. "She's going on well," she said. "Persuade her to lie down. She will be easier so." From the moment when he had waked up and understood what was going on, Levin had prepared his mind to bear resolutely what was before him, and without considering or anticipating anything, to avoid upsetting his wife, and on the contrary to soothe her and keep up her courage. Without allowing himself even to think of what was to come, of how it would end, judging from his inquiries as to the usual duration of these ordeals, Levin had in his imagination braced himself to bear up and to keep a tight rein on his feelings for 5 hours, and it had seemed to him he could do this. But when he came back from the doctor's and saw her sufferings again, he fell to repeating more and more frequently, "Lord, have mercy on us, and succor us." He sighed, and flung his head up, and began to feel afraid he could not bear it, that he would burst into tears or run away. Such agony it was to him. And only 1 hour had passed. But after that hour there passed another hour, 2 hours, 3, the full 5 hours he had fixed as the furthest limit of his sufferings, and the position was still unchanged, and he was still bearing it because there was nothing to be done but bear it, every instant feeling that he had reached the utmost limits of his endurance, and that his heart would break with sympathy and pain. But still the minutes passed by and the hours, and still hours more, and his misery and horror grew and were more and more intense. All the ordinary conditions of life, without which one can form no conception of anything, had ceased to exist for Levin. He lost all sense of time.